Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're going to fundamentally shift how you think about school district communication. You know the drill, right? You're constantly getting this barrage of emails, texts, and app notifications from your local public schools. But what if I told you that this endless fire hose of information might actually be masking a massive operational failure? Seriously, it's wild. Today, we're unpacking a truly groundbreaking, systems-based framework. It completely redefines communication, not just as blasting out information, but as the ultimate verification layer of a school's reality. We're going to break down the TMQ quantified approach to see exactly how districts can level up, moving from just making a ton of noise to actually driving measurable, continuous improvement.
To help us manage this complex system, here is our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the hidden breakdown. Second, separating D to D and pick. Third, the 5 core domains. Fourth, the TMQ alignment framework. And finally, building a trust-driven reality.
All right, starting things off with Section 1, the hidden breakdown and the failure of high-volume messaging.
So here's the absolute crucial point. A school system doesn't fail from a lack of communication. No, it fails because critical signals get totally buried in an avalanche of routine chatter. Think about it. When a district treats, say, a daily lunch menu update with the exact same urgency as a critical drop in a student's reading proficiency, the whole system breaks down. It's like a giant puzzle where all the pieces look exactly the same. Priorities blur, signals get totally diluted, and the vital efforts meant to actually improve the school are totally obscured by all that high-volume noise. And this brilliantly illustrates what the source calls the fourth strategic question, or Q4. Think of any standard strategic plan, right? Question 1 gathers the data. Question 2 finds the gaps. Question 3 allocates the time to fix them. But Q4, communication integrity, that's the unifying force. It's the verification layer ensuring that the data, the problems, and the time allocated are genuinely understood and acted upon by everyone involved. Without Q4, well, the system might keep humming along, but the community is left completely in the dark. Communication isn't just sending messages, it's the actual verification of reality. Let's move right along to Section 2 and see how this builds into our next core concept, separating D to D and pick, or demarcating signal from noise. Now, what's really fascinating here is how clearly we need to contrast the background noise of day-to-day operations, that's D to D, with the critical signal of performance improvement communication, which we'll call pick. D2D is your scheduling, your routine announcements, all that general correspondence. It sustains the day. It's high volume, sure, but it has super low strategic impact. Pick, on the flip side, is what actually transforms the system. We're talking data-driven reports, underperformance analyses, and real intervention strategies. It's low volume, but immensely high impact. Honestly, you should think of Pike with the exact same priority as classified information in high-reliability systems. It absolutely must be labeled, traceable, and rigorously audited by leadership. Now, that doesn't mean it's a secret. It just means it has controlled visibility and gets priority handling. Every single piece of Pike has to be time-bound and directly linked to a measurable outcome. It is literally the core communication vehicle of Kaizen, continuous improvement. It ensures that every single effort to fix a problem is highly visible and strictly tracked. Which brings us to the really fascinating one-half rule. This visualizes a pretty stark reality. While half of our communication merely informs, only the top half, the pick, actually transforms the system. By strictly separating these two streams, leadership, like a district superintendent, can effectively tune out the massive volume of D2D operational noise. They can just focus exclusively on the pick streams. It mathematically aligns their attention directly with system improvement, rather than letting them get bogged down by endless operational distractions. Now, I want you to ask yourself this exact rhetorical question when looking at your own district's communication habits. When a school sends out a standard D2D message, success is basically just knowing it landed in an inbox. Cool. But pick? Pick requires an entirely different, much higher standard of success. Pick asks, did the system improve? Literally, if you take away anything from today, remember that pick acts as a Kanban signal. It completely shifts our focus away from basic delivery metrics and right onto measurable improvement outcomes. Just like a signal card moving down a factory assembly line to halt production for a defect, a pick communication immediately triggers an investigation, an intervention, a correction, and verification. It is absolutely not just an FYI, it's a hard catalyst for action. With that core distinction established, let's explore Section 3, the 5 core domains, where we categorize effective communication. Our source outlines these 5 core domains and actually notes a really striking warning. Delayed communication in the timeliness domain is totally indistinguishable from total system failure. Wow, these demands are the absolute pillars of the TMQ approach. Visibility means parents actually have real-time access to performance dashboards. Timeliness requires strict response standards, like firm service level agreements. Accuracy completely eliminates conflicting info across staff. Trust demands upfront honesty, especially when reporting underperformance. And finally, actionability requires crystal clear guidance on exactly what to do next.
In this powerful quote from the actionability domain basically hits the nail on the head. Information without action is noise. This perfectly sums up why sending a parent a data report without an intervention pathway is fundamentally useless. Seriously, if a district sends home a report showing a student is struggling in math but gives zero clear, actionable next steps, they haven't communicated anything effectively. They've just added to the noise and spiked that parental anxiety. Let's move right into Section 4, the TMQ alignment framework. Specifically, target, meet, qualify. This is where we operationalize everything we've been talking about. Now, what's really interesting here is how this master communication grid mathematically aligns leadership's attention directly with improvement. Let's break down the rows. For D2D, the target is basically just maintaining operations. We meet that by sending out routine info, and we qualify it simply by confirming delivery. Super simple. But for PIC, it's a whole different ballgame. The target is driving measurable improvement. We meet it by delivering highly structured, clearly labeled communication. And here's the real game changer. We qualify it only when we have verified an actual, tangible improvement in the outcome. And this brilliantly illustrates that Kanban communication flow in action. It shows you exactly how a PIC signal card travels through a healthy school system to guarantee an improved outcome. First, a problem is identified and fired off as a PIC signal. That immediately triggers a root cause analysis. That analysis then dictates a very specific action or intervention. And finally, the system verifies the outcome against the baseline to absolutely confirm improvement. This whole shebang ensures that a cry for help or a noted deficiency never just vanishes into the ether. Finally, let's dive into our last section, Section 5, Trust-Driven Reality. This is the ultimate outcome, returning to the human element that makes all these mechanics actually worthwhile. So the crucial takeaway here is that even if a school district is phenomenal at collecting data and identifying gaps, without communication integrity, the community just remains totally alienated. Remember those 4 strategic questions from earlier? If Q4, that communication verification layer, fails, the data from Q1 just becomes incredibly confusing. The problems identified in Q2 are completely misunderstood by parents, and the time allocated in Q3, it's perceived as being totally misused. The inevitable result of all that is system fragmentation, deep mistrust, and ultimately, systemic decline. But true system stability and parental alignment only happen when a district is brave enough to transparently disclose its underperformance using this PIC framework. Let that sink in for a second. Most districts, they try to hide their flaws. They're constantly spinning their PR to highlight only the positive D2D news. But genuine trust, that requires radical transparency. When a district uses PIC to openly say, hey, here's where we are failing, here's our data-driven plan to fix it, and here's exactly how we will measure success, they instantly gain the community's trust. It's a real paradigm shift. I'm going to leave you with this final provocative quantum statement to ponder. Is your district currently communicating truth to drive improvement, or are you guys just sending out noise? We've seen today that communication absolutely isn't just some supporting PR function, it is the vital integrative force that makes a school's operations real. By separating the routine chatter from performance improvement communication, any district can cut through the noise and start making a truly measurable difference. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and definitely start looking for the PIC in your own inbox.